This is my MacBook Pro 16-inch, and here's everything you need to know if you also want to buy one. First and foremost, we all know why we are looking at the M1 instead of the M2. The price. But no, seriously, those fresh out the box MacBooks are hella expensive. So if I were you, I would take a look at the Apple refurbished stores, since those are basically the same laptops, they just come in a different box. As it goes for my own laptop, I got a space gray 16-inch M1 MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro chip, and 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. I got this at a really great deal at 1,600 bucks, which is like $1,000 off the regular price for a brand new one. The only downside that I can think of is the slightly degraded battery health, since mine came with 180 cycles already on it. But that isn't really that bad, since a battery replacement is just 100 bucks. And even though my battery health is only at 91%, the whole experience has been simply exceptional. I still have no trouble getting throughout the whole day doing everything this channel needs with just one charge, which is quite ridiculous compared to the 3 hours that I was getting on my old Windows machine. And when it eventually runs out of juice in the evening, I can just plug it in with the MagSafe cable. And my god, I have to tell you, it's just so satisfying plugging in that little magnetic connector and hearing that click. And the best part is that it charges rapidly. I got the huge 140 watt power brick that comes with all the 16-inch models. Also, if you didn't know, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, that rhymes, has a 100 kilowatt hour battery, which is the largest size battery you can fit in a laptop for it to still be able to go on a plane. The downright best part of this laptop has to be the 16-inch 120Hz ProMotion XDR display being fired up by micro LED technology. Wow, that was a mouthful, but this screen is just amazing. Like really, if you have a chance to take a look at it in the Apple Store, just quickly fire up YouTube and go to an 8K HDR video and just look at those amazing colors and the resolution. And I think for like 97% of us, this is going to be the best screen in our houses. And for the other 3% of you that have 8K OLED TVs, yeah, it's gonna be pretty alright. But as with everything in life, this also has its downside. The micro LED technology that's powering this display can get it up to 1000 nits and 1600 nits if it's HDR content. But the downside is that it has something called blooming. I will explain to you really quickly. If you have a black screen and you put something light in the middle of it, it will have this hazy effect around it. That's basically blooming. You pretty much never see it throughout the day, but at night when everything goes dark mode and you're just watching movies, then you are probably going to see it. But it's not that bad, and it kind of adds that effect that YouTube just implemented around its videos. One thing that was holding me off buying a MacBook for a long time was 60 Hz, since Apple was riding the 60 Hz train for a long time. But in 2021, they finally moved the needle and switched to ProMotion. Like sure, it's not one of those 360 Hz ROG monitors, but then again, you're not going to play games on a Mac. And if you are playing games on a Mac, you need to reevaluate your life decisions. To be honest, I have noticed a little bit of motion blur when switching between spaces or moving windows around, but then again, that's probably the screen just dialing down the hertz to save me some extra battery life. Since this panel is adaptive and can go all the way down to 24 Hz when you're, for example, watching videos or a movie. And yeah, I have to address the notch. Everybody knows that the MacBooks have a notch that wasn't supposed to be there because HP laptops still fit it without the notch, but to be honest with you, it's the same thing as with the phone. You're not going to care about the notch once you have one, because it completely blends in with the top bar, especially when watching movies, when it basically goes invisible. And if you have a brighter wallpaper, yeah, sure, you're going to probably notice it on the daily. But then again, it's at least going to remind you that you have the newest, the greatest design from Apple. For whatever that's worth. And below this gorgeous screen, we have a nice contrasty keyboard that Apple brought back after realizing the touch bar was a bad idea. But to be honest with you, I thought the touch bar was really cool. I know that a lot of people complained that it just froze all the time, that buttons are better, but then again, I think it gave this MacBook kind of like a bliss over all the other laptops that just didn't have a cool feature like this. So something I was really surprised by in the last 2 weeks is that I used function keys way more often on my MacBook compared to my Windows computer, since I find them a lot more useful, especially mission control and voice dictation. Voice dictation is probably the best feature that I use on the daily, because every time I have to write something that's more than a sentence, I usually just hit the little voice dictation button and just say it. I don't have to type as much anymore, and this just saves me so much time, especially when writing scripts for these videos. And the best part about voice dictation is that it works across languages. That means if your language is supported, you can use it, and the grammar is actually pretty good. I'm really looking forward to the next macOS update because they are going to add the little editing functionality that you have on the iPhone. Basically, when you say something, you can then mid-sentence just edit it and then continue saying something without canceling the dictation at all. But one thing that I really dislike about this keyboard is the caps lock key, since it's not like on Windows computers when you just swiftly hit it and it turns it on. On the Mac, you actually have to press it down for a solid second to activate. I get that this is like a safety feature, but if you know how to disable it, please let me know. But one thing that definitely isn't frustrating is the trackpad. It's such a nice feeling just gliding your finger over the glass surface. It just feels so premium. And the 16-inch MacBook Pro has the largest trackpad on any laptop. Damn, that sounded like if Apple was presenting it. The largest of any laptop. Did you know that the Surface doesn't actually press down? This really surprised me when I figured this out. It has lots of motors that just figure out where your finger is and vibrate at the exact spot. That means the clicking is nicely consistent throughout the whole trackpad. And I feel like the whole trackpad idea is much better implemented in macOS compared to Windows. Since, for example, moving around in Final Cut Pro feels just so intuitive. You really have to try it out to know what I mean, because I thought that those people who preferred a trackpad were just weirdos. But to be honest with you, I'm gradually starting to prefer the trackpad over a mouse. Damn, I never thought I would say this. Okay, so let's continue the theme of going around the chassis with the speakers. They are just the best speakers on the laptop. I don't have to tell you anything else. It's like I'm throwing the speakers under a bus when I'm comparing to other laptop speakers, because those are just crap. But these ones really made me a snob for a good listening experience. And lastly, about the chassis, the ports are finally back. I know it isn't great praising Apple for bringing something back that they removed, but I'm just happy they're back, especially the SD card reader. I miss this guy so much. I still can't figure out why Apple thought that, oh, just get rid of that important port on our Pro laptops would be a good idea. So outside of the SD card reader, you also have an HDMI port, 3 USB-C ports, and a high impedance headphone jack. If you don't know what high impedance is, it's basically a way of saying it can support really high-end headphones. I would have loved if they had added a USB-A port, since I still need to plug in my mouse, but then again, it would probably look outdated. The one thing that annoys me about this chassis are the sharp edges. Since every time I'm writing something for more than 10 minutes, it leaves these marks on my hand. Last and certainly not least is the performance. I'm sure you heard like a million times how good the M chips are, and I have to say they are really good. But I'm not going to bore you with performance figures, since you probably saw that when the laptop came out. So to keep it really simple, not bore you guys, and also my camera is running out of juice, I'm gonna list my 3 favorite things about the performance of this laptop. So firstly, I'm super excited that I can finally use my laptop as an actual laptop, not being afraid of, oh, where's the next socket I can plug into? Because when I plugged my power out of my Windows laptop, it would just drop the performance to like 30%. But the MacBook performs exactly the same whether it's plugged in or not. Number 2 is quite niche, but if you're rendering videos, you know that feeling when you hit that render button and everything else just slows down. That isn't a case with the MacBook. I can be rendering a video and finishing a thumbnail for it at the same time. And this saves me a couple of minutes every day, but those minutes will eventually stack up to a few hours. And thirdly, it's absolutely silent. I only realized how freaking loud my Windows machine was after using this puppy. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions regarding the MacBook or pretty much anything else, just leave them down in the comments below. This is gonna be it for today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!